Receive greetings from our studios. Good evening and thanks for being part of today's edition of the 6:30 Prime News on My Media Prime. We're live from Douala, the country's economic capital, live from Studio A of My Media Prime. My name is Genda Belgian Blanche King. This evening we begin the news from Yaoundé. The head of state, His Excellency President Paul Biya, has set the stage clear for the imminent holding of regional elections in Cameroon amidst the worsening socio-political crisis in the two Anglophone or the two English-speaking regions of the country. The decision comes after the signing of a presidential decree yesterday. Details with Dolly Gonde in the following reports.
According to the signing of the presidential decree, the regional council seats have been evenly distributed to all 10 regions of the country, with each region having a total number of 90 representatives, with specific focus on the restive Anglophone regions. And beginning from the Northwest region, the Mezam division has the highest number of representatives, with 21 plus 18 divisional representatives and 3 representatives of traditional rulers. The Bui division has 16 representatives, with 13 divisional representatives and 3 representing the traditional rulers, while Donga Mantung has 13, 10 divisional representatives and 3 representatives of traditional rulers. Momo division follows behind with 11 representatives, 8 divisional representatives and 3 representatives of traditional rulers, while Menchun and Boyo divisions have 10 divided in the same way, 7 representatives and 3 representatives of traditional rulers each. Finally, Ngoke Tunja closes the chapter of the Northwest region with 9 representatives, 7 divisional representatives and 2 representatives of traditional rulers. In the Southwest region, Fako division has a total of 24 representatives, 21 divisional representatives and 2 representatives of traditional rulers, while Kmer has 18, 15 divisional representatives and 3 representatives of traditional rulers. Zian division follows suit with 16 representatives, 9 divisional representatives and 4 representatives of traditional rulers. Kupe Manegoba has 6 divisional representatives and 4 representatives of traditional rulers, while Libya Lem has 9, 6 divisional representatives and 3 representatives of traditional rulers. As of now, the date of the regional elections will be known subject to the head of states convening the electoral call. Meantime, the decree has been signed amidst a worsening security situation in the restive Anglophone regions, with Professor Maurice Kamto, one of Cameroon's strongest opposition leaders, making plans for a campaign to oust President Biya if he proceeds with any further elections alongside the ongoing siege.
Prime Minister, Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph Diongote has chaired an inaugural meeting to evaluate recommendations of the major national dialogue. The meeting was aimed at drafting strategies to ensure a smooth back to school in the restive regions, amongst other issues. Our reporter Nora Kakebi completes the story.
Cameroon government has today begun an evaluation meeting on the recommendations of the major national dialogue. This comes almost a year after the come together which held in Yaoundé to find solutions to the crisis rocking the northwest and southwest regions of the country. A release signed by the Director of Cabinet at the Prime Minister's office, Balungeli Ebone Confiance, stipulates that the follow-up committee, which was created after the major national dialogue, meets today to examine the extent to which the recommendations have been implemented. With life in Cameroon's 2 English-speaking regions having been brought to a halt due to the 4-year conflict rocking the regions, which has cost thousands of lives and forced many out of their homes, in an attempt to end the crisis, President Paul Biya called for talks, which made a series of proposals, including the adoption of a special status for the 2 English-speaking regions. Due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, the committee could not meet. During today's inaugural session, therefore, the Prime Minister and Head of Government says the session is to help take stock of the actions already engaged in line with recommendations promulgated during the dialogue and start a reform. According to the PM, the inaugural session will enable the government to design a roadmap to ensure that children return to school peacefully in all the towns and villages in the restive regions, while businessmen and women can go about their businesses smoothly. Not forgetting the internally displaced persons who have to go back to their regular activities.
Take stock of the actions that have already been engaged in line with the recommendations formulated during the dialogue and chart a way forward. It should enable us to design a roadmap for ensuring that our children in all our villages and towns in the northwest and southwest regions peacefully resume schools. Our businessmen and women in those two regions restart their enterprises, and our brothers and sisters who have become refugees and internally displaced persons.
The PM equally mentioned that the head of state, Paul Biya, has once again demonstrated his profound commitment in showing his love and patriotism by calling on this session, which opens today.
Over to the northwest region of the country, quarter heads of Bamenda 1 municipality in Mezam division of the northwest region have taken firm commitments with Bamenda City Council authorities to ensure the involvement of local communities in the maintenance of municipal roads which are in bad or poor states. Our reporter Charles Kibwa tells us more from Bamenda.
Roads in the city of Bamenda fallen into the state of dilapidation and eyesore. The population of Abakwa are craving something should be done.
The struggle for open water there the past week, so I think we struggle to make city mayor heavy.
In a meeting 1st September 2020 with quarter heads of the Bamenda 1 municipality, Bamenda City Mayor Paul Achombong, accompanied by the Mayor of Bamenda 1 Council, requested that the quarter heads of the Bamenda 1 municipality involve local community in the maintenance of municipal roads.
And when we talk about decentralization, we mean that everybody is involved. And we are the first batch of the decentralized system. And we're making our efforts being felt right down from us through the quarter heads and to the people on the ground. And we know that collectively we have a better tomorrow. Collectively we'll build a better society, and collectively we'll build Bamenda even a better city than Abu Dhabi.
Northwest Regional Delegate of Housing and Urban Development, Akechu Thomas, advised that people ensure they clean up the gutters and drainage to prevent the roads from falling into the state of dilapidation. Each quarter head was given maize, palm oil, and a fowl as a firm commitment to harness this activity.
Everything for peace should reign in our quarter, because without peace there will be no development. So we are pledging that we will do everything to support local authorities so that the peace can reign and development will come.
Engage solidarity with the people, come in together and ensure their roads are repaired.
Forces of law and order in Mbuda West region of the country have neutralized one out of a gang of 7. Locals confirm that insecurity and armed robbery around the localities of Babaju and Zavion lately is something they worry about. After thorough investigations, the hideouts of the 7 individuals was cracked down during a night operation, resulting in the death of one. Details in the following report. This is Mbuda West region of Cameroon, where an alleged thief has been killed following a night operation carried out by forces of law and order in Kumbo village, Babaju subdivision. According to Senior Warrant Officer Lachelle Sebastian, commander of the Gendarmerie Brigade Mbuda, they were reliably informed of a robbery plan in the localities of Kumbo and Zavion. With authorization from the company commander, the activities of the bandits were monitored.
A few days ago, I had information that these guys were about to rob so many homes in Kumbo and Zavion. I took authorization from my company commander, because it wasn't in my zone of competence, to monitor them right up to that zone. And gave me the authorization, so I went there with 2 of my boys. The first day, they came only 2 of them to study the place, how they can operate. The second day, they came 7 of them, still just to study and put in place their plan of action.
Reports confirm the bandits, 7 in number, have looted homes and masterminded several robbery attacks around Buda and Babaju.
When they robbed a businessman living in Babaju, took his guns, he had 2 guns, they took the guns away. They later went to the real oil petrol station in the entrance of the town, robbed the petrol station, robbed the Total petrol station in town. went to a traveling agency, Destiny, and robbed the agency.
With one down, the search for 6 other members of the gang is ongoing. Some weapons were retrieved from the gang, including 2 pistols, one locally made and the other automatic. Inhabitants have expressed joy over the neutralization of the bandit terrorizing the locality. They say their joy has been short-lived following the recent change in Brigadier Command. The inhabitants are worried that theft and insecurity might return to Mbuda. Details in the French language with Gladys Bomotongina.
Les populations de la ville de Bouda, chef-lieu du département de Bamboutos, à l'ouest du Cameroun, rejettent fortement l'affectation et le départ de leur commandant de brigade, l'adjudant-chef Lachalé Sébastien, au regard des compétences sécuritaires qu'il affiche. Pour ces derniers, la pléthore de brigands armés ou encore la lutte contre la grande criminalité dans cette localité ne saurait être contrôlée mieux que par celui-ci et ses troupes.
Nous sommes tellement dépassés comme la situation, comme nous sommes en train de voir ici à l'instant. Tellement les bandits ici à Bouda, c'est devenu compliqué. Si bien quand on annonce qu'on va affecter le commandant, ça devient un problème. Jusque là où nous sommes là, c'est grave. Chaque jour il y a les agresseurs. On poignarde les gens, on prend leur moto. Nous sommes tellement dépassés. Vraiment, nous saignons que le commandant qui est ici, qui continue avec son travail.
Commandant ne part pas. Commandant ne go no place. Il remain où il faut y. If commandant go, even we by people them, we never are on day. We wait. Now why they outside today, this evening?
Une première donc dans l'histoire du Cameroun, ces populations en appellent au gouvernement car ne se voient vivre dans cette localité sans leur commandant, Lachalé Sébastien.
The United Nations Food Agency World Food Programme has stated that the world is at the verge of a food crisis as COVID-19 continues to devastate economies and livelihood globally. Bokengo Kmer worthy in the following reports.
The World Food Programme Executive Director David Beasley reiterates on a food pandemic that may double the number of people facing food crisis worldwide due to coronavirus.
Today with COVID-19, I want to stress that we're not only facing a global health pandemic, but also a global humanitarian catastrophe. But now the World Food Programme analysis shows also due to the coronavirus that an additional 130 million people could be pushed to the brink of starvation by the end of 2020. That's a total of 265 million people.
He lays emphasis on the fact that
in my conversations with world leaders over the past many months, before the coronavirus even became an issue, I was saying that 2020 would be facing the worst humanitarian crisis since World War II for a variety of reasons. Such millions of civilians living in conflict-scarred nations, including many women and children, face being pushed to the brink of starvation with the specter of famine, a very real and dangerous possibility.
It should be noted that the coronavirus pandemic has added fuel to the fire of a growing hunger crisis, which had approximately 821 million people worldwide facing food insecurities.
I'll give you just some numbers. 821 million people go to bed hungry every night all over the world, chronically hungry. And as Dr. Chu just pointed out, as the new global report on food crisis that's published today shows, there are a further 135 million people facing crisis levels of hunger or worse. That means 135 million people on Earth are marching toward the brink of starvation. If we can't reach these people with the life-saving assistance they need, our analysis shows that 300,000 people could starve to death every single day over a 3-month period.
Nonetheless, a hunger crisis or pandemic is not the only worry surrounding the novel coronavirus. They include broken economies and food system, permanent business shutdown, loss of family members and loved ones, and soon enough in some countries, back to school.
In sports, an association to promote women's football in Cameroon has been created. This comes at a time when women's football in the country is hampered by a lot of challenges. In the following report, sportsman Fabrice Kendinga says all hands must work together to attain another level. His report.
The development of women's football in Cameroon has for several years suffered from a series of drawbacks, ranging from lack of sponsorship to poor quality of stadiums, negligence by the powers that be, as well as over-politicking of an apolitical game, according to some pundits. Experts in this domain opines that these are the main reasons why women's teams do not perform well on the pitch. Besides that, the problem of communication between the promoters of women's football and the hierarchy is another maneuver. It is therefore in the backdrop of these impediments that an association to promote and develop the beautiful game has been created in order to enable women's football reach its best moments and make a new start. The association, known as a National Association for Promoters and Presidents of Women's Football Clubs, was created recently during a General Assembly of Women's Football Stakeholders in Cameroon, which held at the Fcfa Technical Center in Odia, Yaoundé. The creation of this association has been hailed by football actors in the country who have unanimously agreed that it is high time to take the women's game to another level. It makes meaning to recall that promoters of women's football in the country have for several years been clamoring for such an association to be created. In the midst of these challenges, truth be told that there has been some remarkable progress of late. The revamping of a national women's championship and a committee created by the Cameroon Football Federation, Fcfa, to manage the league. Also, the European Football Governing Body, UEFA, has expressed their interest to help in the development of the women's game in Cameroon. Cameroon is a home to numerous great female footballers like 2015 Best African Player of the Year winner Gaye Deborah Nganamoit, Nchut Njoya Ajara, Abudi Ongene, amongst others. The indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon participated at their second FIFA Women's World Cup finals in 2019 and were only booted out by England at the round of 16 following controversial video assistant referee decisions. The Central African nation has been runners-up at the Africa Women's Cup of Nations on 6 occasions, with Nigeria's Super Falcon being their nemesis. However, many Cameroonians believe that women's football can bring a lot of economic glory and breakthrough to the country if all hands are on deck, with the prime objective being the plight of players. There is a wind of change blowing across African women's football at the moment, with a majority of the players making the European country of Spain their own maker. Recently, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, created the CAF Women's Champions League set to begin next year. In the meantime, the cry of many a Cameroonian is to see professional football in the country get to a top level of professionalization.
Thanks, sportsman Kendinga Fabrice, for that sports report. With that, we end today's edition of Prime News on My Major Prime. Thanks for being a part of today's edition. Join us tomorrow, God willing, at 6:30 for another edition of Prime News on My Major Prime. The news was produced by Ewane Airline Olinga, coordinated by Faith Tata Berenyoy. My name is Genda Pelgium Blanche King. Until we meet again tomorrow, stay tuned to My Major Prime for more interesting programs. Prime Hour comes up next. Good night. Enjoy the rest of your evening.